Voila. Oh, I had that really loud. Yeah, that's really loud. I want that even further down. Oh, today is gonna be a fun one. I felt like doing more art today, even though I got another art stream tomorrow. But, well, I do like doing art. The real question is, I don't know, I feel like storyboarding today. I don't know what just yet. Not always obvious what you want to do immediately, you know? Hmm. 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 Eh. Not much to do besides start to work. Just not too sure what on. So many things to do. But what? What? We could start with a scene could be fun. But what scene? Do I want a character? Probably a knight. Do love my knights. Okay. One, that should be at like 20% opacity. Because I'm stubborn. Yeah, that's good. Oh, next up. Okay. Let's just get started. Just because I'm feeling like it. Hmm. Should block out that. Do. That's probably the best bet. Trees are weird. Do you know that trees are always... What's the word? The exact width, if you were to add up all of the branches of a tree, would be exactly equal to the trunk of the tree. The trees should never have... What I'm saying is, people who draw trees like this are not drawing trees, they're drawing broccoli. Trees fundamentally get thinner as they go up. And if you ever have a major split off on a tree, it should be... See, that would make no sense. But need to be roughly equal to how much is splitting off. And that goes for each and every little tiny branch. What was I doing? Oh yeah, that's right. Scene. You know, I've always wanted to make a game. Well, who hasn't, frankly? There's a lot of people who've always wanted to make games. But I've had the idea for one for a very long time now, which is the basic premise is how would I describe it? Because I always use Dark Souls as my example when I'm thinking of it, but you should really not use other games as your analog for descriptions. Like trying to describe Red to someone. Like, it's not a good idea. You're only going to be able to use Red as your description. But, in lack of my ability to speak, the idea would basically be Dark Souls from the perspective of Gwyn. You know, the guy who did the fire and started the whole cycle. I really like the idea of that. And the basic premise of the story is that the world is fundamentally moving on from the age that this king, because, you know, Gwyn is fundamentally a king, is from. And so, to postpone this, or well, I guess the actual idea is that, you know, there's a big cataclysmic event that causes his kingdom to go down in flames. You know? And to try and postpone this, he tries to... What's the word? Reset the timeline. Consistently, frequently, and constantly. But every time he does it, the years progress by at least always progress once he completes a loop back to his kingdom, so like he would. So like, you know, there's the game map, you got your areas, the starting area, so on, so on, so on, then you have the ending area. You'd reach this, he'd try to, what's the word? Postpone the end of his own kingdom and reset the timeline. So everything he does no longer has taken effects, and every time he fails, the years progress from, so let's say the year is 12115, and after a loop, it's the year 12116, and he ends up back over here. Over here, specifically, actually. This scene. And he's postponing this world's ability to move on from his own kingdom. Even though the world itself has fundamentally moved on. Like, the idea is that even the final area of the game, you know, his kingdom, would be devoid of enemies. Completely and utterly devoid of enemies. Because, like, in Lothringen, you've still got, like, you know, the final king's guards. You've got the true loyalist. The idea is that it's been so long that he is truly the only one fighting to be for this result at this point. There's literally no one left but him doing this. And he just consistently... So it's no one here. Zilch. And I thought that's just a really cool game, in honesty, from like a storytelling perspective. Of basically a mad king just postponing the progress of an entire society. On that note, but I need to that's not what I want. And that's just, I thought that's just a cool idea for a game. From a storytelling perspective, at least. Obviously, as you can hear from my uncertainty, one, it's been a long time since I revisited the idea. And two, I never really fully thought it through on exactly why. Like, that's not even the reason the idea actually came to pass. It originates specifically from Elden Ring, of all things. Well, not of all things, obviously. You know, it's From Software, you know. And the map design in that game has it so the map is literally built on a platform of some kind. It's never really fully explained what it is. And the idea was, after every loop, because, you know, I'm an artist first and foremost, not a storyteller, and I like the idea of a world literally built on the backs of giants, or in this case, statues of the king. And there would be roughly as many statues of the king as there are loops, because after every loop there's a new statue. I just thought it's a really cool looking idea, in terms of, like, no matter where you are in the world, it's just, you can constantly, no matter where you are, see these statues in the distance, buried underground. Literally, there's points that I want, at some points, where you'd go underground, you know? And even the base, even deep within the mines, you can still see statues, just everywhere, constantly, thousands of them, over and over and over, and each one in a different state of degradation. So, like, the newest statue would only be a year old, but the first statue would be 12,000 years old, you know? And that's just really fucking cool. There's a lot of disparate ideas, and, like, what's the word? Person who's never done any kind of storytelling. So that's the basic idea, and I want to I thought it's probably strong enough to actually, at least visually strong enough, to use for at least art, since that was the original idea of the entire project, was just as a standing point for arts. Obviously, he'd look like a crazy king, but probably a little cleaner than that. He'd be in knight armor in the very beginning of the game, which is roughly what this scene is, like, after coming right back out at the start of the loop. At least his loop. I don't know. I guess I could figure out the finer details. It's not like I don't have the time. Actually, why not? It'll make it easier to work with. So, at least on the world, statues. Actually, I should have the project somewhere else in my many files, but probably a good idea to go back on it and go over it with a new lens. Statues, they should be literally visible everywhere. The world constantly filled with them. I had the idea that there was one, since no one else knows about the loop besides the king himself, I had the idea that there would be one other entity, which is basically, to a certain extent, a new god. Like, basically, a group of people in the desert, because, you know, it's the desert, and for some reason, lots of games use the desert for where they put, like, the... Oh, that's actually a really Western ideals. Huh. Either way, this, religion in the desert has sacrificed their matriarch, or what's high priestess, that's the word. A high priestess has been sacrificed. And so, what's the word? Oh, I should stop saying that. She's been sacrificed and kinda... What was the image per se? There's a massive sword kinda going through her. And she's kinda in a lot of chains. Like, these people aren't stupid. Like, it's the birth of literally a new god. And so, in the first loop, ideally, the player doesn't know about the loop and the aspects until later. So, you know, she'd be given... Well, she wouldn't be given anything. She's dead. She's dead. Real dead. But there's like... glow per se. Something growing out of her. A crystallized embryo could be a cool one. Just coming out of her back, or maybe forming on the spear itself that's been used to kill her. Either way, she would give, like... She's the only other entity supposed to be aware of the loops themselves. Either way, the world... The statues are the biggest... biggest... visual elements in the world. They should be almost always visible, or at least somewhat visible. Like, if you're in a very flat area, maybe, you know, even if it's like that, there should be a bit of the statues coming out, and maybe there'd be just a bigger version of it over here, you know? I don't want the statues to always be identical, but that would be, in terms of in-game development terms, hilariously stupid, but in art terms, it's perfectly fine. I've always debated whether they should have a plaque on them of some kind in this guy's language, so literally no one can read them. And it's just simply the number. And the idea is New Game Plus, if there was a New Game Plus, there would be a new statue, because it'd be a new loop. But I'd only do it for one extra loop, because doing that for more than one seems like it'd be a lot of effort. But it'd be cool, like visually, of being like, oh, that wasn't there last time, you know? That fits within what's going on. I also thought it would be fun because these statues would be literally everywhere, that they would be embedded in nearly every culture. Just because, you know, you got a group of people and then you got tons of statues around, and from what you can tell, no one's built them because no one has built them, and literally so everyone has their own mythology just relating to the statues themselves. And then you of course got some crackheads who'll be like, oh, there's new statues appearing and shit. Different armors, so on. I'd also make the castle itself extremely overgrown. Maybe something like, Ozymandias, look upon my works, ye mighty, and despair type shit, where it's like, oh, this is the castle this bro's looking after. This is what he's trying to fight for. There's nothing even here no more. But I think it's more fun to have something like Lothran, where it's like just an entire castle, or more. It could be. Well, that could be more concrete actually. So the end of the game, because it makes no sense the reason that he's doing the loop every time, unless he gets an opportunity at the very end of the loop to end whatever it is that ended his kingdom. So it's possible that you could have it at the end of the loop. End of loop. He encountered some kind of portal. Maybe latent energy, or a measure he put there the very first time, a Hail Mary. That's on the ground. And once you enter it, you go back to the kingdom it once was. And you get to fight whatever it is that killed the place. I wonder what you could make it. Weirdly enough, I actually always wanted it to be the way the king holds defaults to the weapon would be dragging it. At least initially when you first encounter him, he's just always, your character is just always dragging the weapon. He's not technically a knight, but he's also been at it for a very long time. Which is why... Anyway, well, statues being the biggest visual element of it. But what else? I think I want them to be made of mostly normal stone. Oh yeah, I would also make it so the very first time, and the very first piece of gear you have is of the king's original armor, which would be pointed out by this person of like, oh, I have no idea what you're wearing, but welcome to our camp. That's some very expensive gear, but it doesn't look like it's been kept very well. thumb is always pointing towards? Actually, you could definitely go for like making him look young, but frankly, I think it'd make more sense to make him look old as shit. Like, this guy's pulling moves that he should not be pulling. So how would you draw an old person? And obviously this was all just created kind of haphazardly just because I wanted something fun to do. And I thought the core idea of like a world built upon the literal statues of a world built on endless stone statues going far deep into the ground that no one knows the location of. It's just really cool. And then the idea of like a Gwyn like figure was a separate one that I kind of just folded in. I'm not too sure. Okay, let's think. Let us think indeed. How about the first area? I want it to be kind of medieval town, kind of run down, not in the best shape. Oh, that could be fun. So in like the second New Game Plus, you can make it so like the campfire that you first see is a lot more built up into like not really a campfire, but it's a little more of a town square-ish area because it's been there for a year and people have been hanging there for your second loot. Of showing how time is progressing without you. I should decide on a kind of at least vegetation. I know I went on a whole tirade of the fact that logs and tree trunks wouldn't look like that, but you know, knowing and doing are two different things. How would the trying to choose vegetation? And then how thick of because a true overgrown forest has kind of a roof of leaves. And then there's always something like that. And then that goes over. And then over, under, over. Detail gets less precise as we get further back. And just kind of the impression of trees that perhaps exist, perhaps don't. Would be, I wouldn't yet. Let's use this. And you just erase some bits that show some gaps within the trees, but not that many. Maybe some highlights. But you don't want it too highlighted, I don't think. I don't mind it. But that's like a very basic forest kind of look. How'd it look from more of a top-down angle? Let's say this is the camp. Oh no, there's people over here because it's a pot. Campfire is here. Over here, children. And then maybe all the trees are kind of pointing outward. Maybe they would remove the ones that don't really align. I'm thinking something maybe similar to a redwood. Yeah. And then we'll make it so this is like a path. So it's slightly less dense over here, but kind of dense shrubbery. Not really doesn't mean that everything is done. Very messy, kinda hard to read, but alright. More precise works better. Maybe some references could help me out. Yeah, that always happens when you come back onto the file. You know what? Do I still have? I do. You know what? Since we're here, and world building is fun, and people get caught up in it. There's a reason writers get really caught up in world building. I'm gonna make a Word doc, perhaps. Actually, I'll just make a Obsidian doc. There we go. That's for something else. I haven't used this in ages. Yeah, this works perfectly fine. I don't know. What's a good tester name for it? Statues. I just refer to it as statues for the time being. I'll give you a look while we're here. Yeah, I don't care, Obsidian. Go away. Oh. World elements. Visual. One. World is built upon statues. And they go deep underground to the base of the earth. I don't know. What is it? Hearsay. Yes. It's definitely dark fantasy just by the nature of it. Weirdly enough, I don't want it to be that visually dark, because the whole point of the world is that it's moved on from this point. It might be dealing with its own issues, but the world is fundamentally move forward. It doesn't mean it's not like still depressing. It's just more of a case of it's no longer. It's dealing with different issues than it was dealing with so long ago. Let's moved on. Oh, that's my pen. I need that. I don't know. Ooh, where'd that go? Oh no. Oh no. Okay. Oh wow, that has. Oh, how did it even? That's. Who knows? Yeah, we'll keep the light on actually. Oh. Let's move forward. Oh, I saw a bad description. It's still fantasy. I still want it to have really weird elements. But I do want it to be kind of colorful. Like there's another world bleeding into it. But that could be, I... Two... That could be an element of it. The past itself, due to this vast knights, we'll just refer to him as the king. We'll just refer to him as the king for the time being, because I'm not bothered to come up with a name. Actually, a name might not even be... Might be antithetical. Antithetical. Might be against the spirit. Let's make it so he doesn't even remember his own name. He don't even remember why he's doing this. Besides, to prolong the final moment of his kingdom. Okay, two ideas. It can either be the past, or it can be literally another world. The past makes more sense for just making the king seem like a real dick. He knows what's happening. He's aware. The landscape could be stretched. Like the past and the present, the landscapes would be vastly different. Would you make the past more ancient or more civilized? And when I say that, I don't really mean more civilized, I just mean more built up. Huh. So, what? And Horizon Line. And then. Maybe rivers that just begin and then just suddenly end and go into like something like a desert. Like a broken chunk. Ooh, if we do make it the past, then all past landscapes would have no statues. That's if it is the past, but the same would actually go for these. Actually, no matter what it is, all bits of this landscape that bleeds in would be devoid of the, statues, since that's a product of the king's meddling in reality. Hmm. Like any good artist, I'm going to wholesale steal an idea and see if I can work and make it my own, since I'm feeling a little stuck. Which isn't always the worst thing. God, that's a really good way to do that. Oh, how far are we into this? Yeah, I'm gonna have to change this soon. I'll do that later. That's the music, by the way, that's what I was talking about. That's an alright idea. Let's work with it. And then this can be twisted in the canopies, but it goes far down. Just constant. They just, from what we could tell, they go fully down. They just disappear. They're really high up, is what I want to say. And then again, it is fantasy, so you can absolutely, indeed, have dragons. This is Eastern Dragon, but and I want it to be a corpse. I want most things to be corpses, if I'm being completely honest. I want this world to be filled with random things. Load. Remember, the further back you get, the less the details matter. Actually, if we do have, you know, Dragon Corps like we do, we could make it so that there's kind of like a town to a certain extent hanging off of it. Maybe dragon scales, like most fantasy, are very highly valued, so there's just a mining operation on the bastard. Where they're just slowly taking the scales. So you get this piece of, like, just bits of flesh. But they've just got, like, tons of workers. Mining the dragon. Because, like, these are all these fantasy words are like, yeah, we harvest the scales of dragons, but like, if you had a massive dragon corpse like this, that's a lot of scales to harvest. I realize this isn't very in line with the rendering that I'm supposed to be doing, and I will do some more rendering based stuff a little later, but I like this kind of stuff. It's also good to have the occasional time where you try and stretch your creative muscles, even when you're practicing. Well, you've got dragons as such, but you could also have some, you know, the fun dragons. Who says you need to be limited to just one type of dragon? I would make it so that the Eastern type of dragon is just much bigger. Well, I guess this would be wyverns, aren't these? I've never actually drawn dragon before, so. And Eastern dragons are much easier to, like, the scale is so off, but that's fine. Basic idea. You get more than just the your what's it called dragon. You don't need to limit yourself to one type of dragon. What kind of maybe Hmm. Hmm. I'm gonna do a bit of stopping real quick. The corpses of massive mythical creatures could be just cool to have strewn around the landscape as well. But if you have so many corpses, you also need a lot of those things also just about. And I'm still thinking of this from a game perspective, but like I can just ignore game like, oh, that would be a pain in the ass to make that many assets. You don't need to think about it that way. It's not a game, not technically speaking. You could ignore that and you could just make a lot of what's it called? Lots of different creatures. Oh. Yep. Okay. Need to get better. Nothing will get me better than just doing more stuff. No time like the present to keep working. No. Always remember. Maybe try and find locations. I don't know. Places. Hmm. Wilderness is something I'm not very familiar with. Something I'm very, very bad at. Very, very bad at. Anyway, I should continue on. Well, first I do need to take my actual break. Just focus. Okay. Let's think. Compositional framing is always a hard one too. Let's first, more so than anything, I'm gonna zoom out real quick. I'm gonna quickly make a couple of like types of framing. Okay. And folders. Thank you. Okay, yeah. One, two, yeah. 2, 3. And then give or take like that. I'm just copying something at the moment. I should be clear about that right now. Just because I wanted to have a look at some different compositions and see how they look when just broken down into basic shapes. That's, and then like that, and then just 1. I will go for not that dark. 50? Yeah, we'll go for 50. Back to 20. Didn't realize. And just, yeah, that's fine. And it becomes more parallel as it goes down. Because camera's a bitch. And what? It's kind of like that. Then add a depth. That's how they add their depth. And then they just, that's not the most important, but it is still needed. Because this area is overall just a little darker. Oh yeah, probably should put in So how could I use something like this in terms of framing? Oh. This is the reason this has taken me so long to learn as well. It's not an easy one for my brain to get. I find it so hard. I know it's just practice, I really do, but composition's a bitch. It's something that takes a lot of time and a lot of just feeling it out to get. You gotta make a lot of things, you gotta study a lot of things, and just... yeah. Oh. Okay, I'm gonna... What? I don't want... I know I don't want to continue, but I gotta continue. That's the end of Outer Wilds. Meaning I gotta go find a different... I gotta find a different playlist. Ori. Oh, ambient. About 4 hours. Hey! This is a pretty good one. I didn't feel like listening to kazoos. Hadn't really occurred to me, but I can just use the Skyrim soundtrack. It's got a lot of ambience in there. Oh. Wow, there's literally just something called Skyrim Atmosphere that goes for 40 minutes on the soundtrack. Wonderful. Oh, I want to breathe. Nothing you can do besides continuing. Okay, just give it 5 minutes. You always feel terrible after a little while doing arts. Your brain hates study, man. But that's not a bad thing. Not always. It just makes it overall very hard to focus for a long period of time. It can be annoying, but you gotta live with it. Live with it. I could study... There's like so many routes you can do with studying specifically composition. Like you can first... But... And none of them are really that much more effective than each other. It's just understanding what you're wanting to do. Though I don't know how people do this for so long. Even an hour hurts my brain. It's lucky it's a good night, but coming up with environments from scratch is just so difficult, man. Like remnants in my brain want to go play games, but that ain't what we're doing. All gremlins. Oh, the gremlins. They speak to me. They're speaking. And I gotta ignore the gremlins. Thumbnail sketching. What is thumbnail sketching? Oh, you know what? How about that? A slight change of pace. YouTube, please. What are we on? That is my accounts. Yeah, we'll just jump onto this. No, I don't want to make YouTube thumbnails. I want to thumbnail art tutorial. You just gotta... Oh. Okay. All of these are either very long or very short. And I feel it's kind of bad to like watch something on stream and use it. But I am learning. How about I start with something simpler? A simpler composition. I don't need to do big, you know, grand areas. But I can do something simpler, like maybe just cube. Ignore my cube skills for a sec. Move. A larger cube on it. This is tangential to what I'm supposed to be doing, which is whatever the hell I want now that I think about it. No one's the boss of me. And then you could have like mini cubes. How about I'm still overthinking it, I think. Then big cubes. Over here. With it's got a massive cube on it. I think I'm saying cube too much. But now the perspective makes no sense. Like, well, what is this? This would need to be like this. And it need to be darker than that. Because, like, composition's not just about, you know, shape and form. It's also kind of about rhythm. Like, Hmm. Maybe. Hmm. Hmm. Ah. Could you get some audio back? Yeah, I don't think you can refresh. Do what you want. Oh yeah, just Bacade. You know what? Why not? Let's listen to the Assassin's Creed soundtrack. That's 2 hours of music. How about Pinterest thumbnail sketching? Thumbnail. How are these done? We'll just give you. These seem more complex than I'd like. This is interesting. Value studies. Like, you gotta get the fundamental. Maybe. What if you. What if I take a different approach? I'll take this thumbnail. Yeah, we'll take this one, which you can see, but I'll throw it back up onto my other screen for my sanity. And we'll try and riff off only one thumbnail. May just be using a lot of complications. So, thumbnail just looks like this. And and then it's because it's angled like that. They've got like this that's over here. They've got a more interesting shape than that, but it's simple enough to understand. And then we'll do down, down. And everything gets another layer. So they used roughly 3 different, what's the words? They have more definition down here, but I don't think that's actually as necessary as it looks, because I'm trying to focus more on just the okay. So something like that, but they use three very clear things that I should probably actually. Do we have the grayscales? Yes, color set, please. Just turn off color wheel. Yeah, and we'll just use the gray sets for my sanity. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's fine. I don't need the color wheel for what I'm doing right now. Okay. Riff off the one idea. Break down the elements. It's a rocky thing with frame. It's one rock framed between two other rocks with a background to frame it even more, I think is what's going on. But there's 3 rock elements. God, my brain is... I wish I had a better brain. Oh. Okay, breathe. I am gonna be back in 5 minutes. We'll say 10 minutes. Which is never a good idea, but I need to go do something. I know I just need to start, but I feel so much friction. Why do I feel so much friction? There's no stakes, man. The stakes aren't home. There's no one even watching. And yet I feel like I'm... Oh yeah, I forgot this is on a completely different layer. Flat layer. Like rendering. Just simplify. Don't think about it. It doesn't need to be good. It doesn't need to be even bad. It just needs to be... there. I'm think. This should be, I think, much darker. There's no reason for those to be there. Come on, brain. No need, no need. That needs to be lighter than the rest. No. I do not like that. But it is something. Okay. Fun. I wonder how much spam I've been talking to then. Okay. Just got to breathe. Oh, why? Okay. Okay, I think I gotta leave this. I don't know why, but I feel panicked as hell. So I'll leave it here today. No more, no more. Not like I'm not gonna be streaming tomorrow anyway. Okay. Bye.